Viewpoints on the talk station FM 107 AM 1240. Well, I would like to say I'm breaking news this afternoon here on the Viewpoints. Unfortunately, our guest joining us in just a moment has found alternative ways of getting the information out, but I don't think he's gotten as far as he's going to get this afternoon, and I say that tongue firmly planted in cheek. Joining us this afternoon, Scott Dacey from Craven County. He's a Craven County Commissioner, a very active participant in the political scene, but more importantly, a major announcement that came out earlier today, or was it yesterday afternoon? And with that, we'll find out. Scott Dacey joining us. Scott, good afternoon.
Lockwood, the only announcement that's important is the one that I'm doing on your radio show right now.
That's important. Thank you very much. I appreciate the kind thoughts. All right, this is a big issue. U.S. House, you've announced your desire to seek that office.
I have indeed. We've put out a press release to just let folks know what we're up to, and today I'll be filing all the forms with the Federal Election Commission so that we can start going about the task of raising money and maybe spending just a little bit of it. Those are all the things that you need to do to keep yourself straight with the federal law, and that's what we're going to be all about with this for the next few months.
All right. Now, you have, of course, been very active there in Craven County, and you're not a novice when it comes to major campaigns, national campaigns. I know that this has been an interest of yours in the past. Let's talk about your background and what precipitated this decision. Background on you, and then what going forward, what's your plan? So tell us a little bit about Scott Dacey.
Certainly. Yeah. Lockwood, as you well know, I've been engaged in trying to work to help out a number of Republicans throughout North Carolina get elected and hold office. I've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to serve as the finance chairman to the North Carolina State Republican Party, and have worked my way from the grassroots all the way on up within Republican circles. And so I feel blessed to be given this opportunity right now to really have earned the background, serving as a county commissioner locally and becoming engaged in many local boards and commissions to help me understand more about the issues that affect Eastern North Carolina. We're gonna just take this to the next level. Now and be very aggressive about it.
Now, you've also worked in Washington, D.C., so you have a feeling and understanding of D.C. Tell us a little bit, something about your background in that regard.
Well, certainly. In 1989, I was fortunate enough to get an appointment through President George H.W. Bush, to serve in his administration, and the job that they put me in was over at the Small Business Administration, and they put me in the Congressional Affairs Department. And now, all of a sudden, I am now a government relations specialist working on behalf of the Bush administration. And I got to learn that is a very important role in Washington, D.C., and, well, throughout the United States. Of course, you've got folks that practice government relations services all over the United States. And, it's a way to make certain that the elected folks that we have serving us at their various capitals and locations understand what's going on the ground and are kept well informed about the issues that affect their communities. And so I've had that opportunity and built a nice little practice doing government relations up in Washington, D.C., although, of course, Eastern North Carolina is my home, and it's where I've been very engaged in community activities for the last 15 years. And
I want to make one other observation about your experience. You've worked with Allies for Cherry Points Tomorrow as well.
That's correct. I serve as a board member on Allies for Cherry Point Tomorrow. I serve as a board member of the Central District for the Trillium Behavioral Health Services operation, which, of course, is very critical right now in addressing the needs of those who are suffering from various forms of opioid abuse and mental illness. I've recently been appointed to serve on the Southeast Partnership, which is an economic development partnership that involves, I think, like 18 counties throughout Eastern North Carolina. So we've had a lot of regional exposure as well to the issues and concerns of folks throughout Eastern North Carolina, not just Craven County.
Our guest this afternoon, Scott Dacey, declaring candidate for North Carolina House 3rd District, 3rd North Carolina Congressional District, of course, a seat currently held by Congressman Walter Jones. Scott, let's talk about your focus here on this campaign. First issue is, it seems a little early. I mean, we're into July. I don't think filing for U.S. House, for the U.S. House race would be until, and I've got to look at the calendar, but February, if I'm not mistaken, for a May primary. So why so early? And first off, when is filing for the race? When does that begin? Am I correct in February?
You're absolutely correct. It should start the latter part of January,
Okay.
and then end up in the early February timeframe. And while it does seem early, of course, this will be a May primary,
Right.
and so we're less than a year out. The other fact of the matter is that I'll be running against a 22-year incumbent whose father had served in the House of Representatives for some 30 years before him, and it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat equity in order to make this thing work out the way that we want it to work out. And you may be able to do a lot of things in life, but the one thing that you can't buy is time. So starting early is critical to this effort. I am running against an establishment figure who's been an institution for many, many years. So you got to start early at this. And I think that in order for us to be successful, getting out of the box in July is the right thing to do.
Well, I have to admit to making an assumption here. And of course, I'm obviously seeing that you're making the same assumption, and that is that Congressman Jones is going to refile. There is no indication to the contrary, and I'm curious, have you had any discussions either with his staff, with him, or any of his supporters about his plans at this point?
I have not had any direct discussions with them, though I can tell you that word has been provided to me that his intent is to run again for re-election, and that there will be active efforts underway to protect his longstanding position in the House of Representatives. So we're anticipating his continued desire to run for re-election, and we're just going to plan our game accordingly.
Okay, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with your plans and your reason for running. Why are you running for this office? In light of the fact that you're mentioning Congressman Jones, 22 years in the House, what precipitated this desire to run?
Well, we are in a unique time right now, and Eastern North Carolina needs someone with the energy and curiosity to make certain that Washington, D.C. is working for us. We also need someone who makes every effort to help move the Trump agenda forward, someone who's not comfortable with simply voting no, but rather someone who's willing to become personally engaged in the debate over the future of this country and the needs of Eastern North Carolina. And it just seems to me that failing to fund the wall, failing to support repeal and replace of Obamacare, failing to support legislation to protect our community banks, those are just three examples of many things that our current congressman has voted against that will really stop the Trump agenda in moving forward. And that, to me, is the critical point at this point.
And what about your efforts to, of course, gain support? I can't imagine, knowing your experience and knowledge of politics and Washington, and also the challenge of running for public office, having done so as a member of the Craven County Commissioners, your conversations with supporters and within the area. I'm going to make the assumption, and I'm pretty confident the assumption is accurate, you've been doing a lot of groundwork prior to this announcement. What have you heard from those in those conversations?
Lockwood, politics is not lost on you. That is absolutely correct. We've been spending the last couple of months focused in on trying to, first of all, learn whether or not this is the right thing for me to do, and whether or not, Eastern North Carolina is truly looking forward to a change that I believe that they are. And in fact, all of those thoughts of mine have been validated. I have been able to meet with the folks that had run in the last few congressional races, and I believe that they will all be supporting me in my bid to try to move this thing forward. I had very productive discussions with Phil Law, very productive discussions with Taylor Griffin, and a number of other folks who have either run in the past or would consider running for this seat. And all of them are telling me just go for it, and they will be supportive. And folks are recognizing time is now for the change.
I want to thank our guest for this afternoon and for taking the time to be with us, and also just to make note of this, that he's making the announcement today and filing today, Scott Dacey for Congress. And Scott, obviously a little shameless self-promotion. Is there a website, or how can folks find out more information about you and the campaign?
Absolutely. Folks can visit my website at electdacey.com, and then also find me on Facebook at Elect Dacey. And I would encourage people to go onto those two websites. We were able to do a nice video that kind of helps to describe why it is that I'm getting into this race, what my views are, and why it is that I'm hopeful that people will come to this campaign and be supportive. Scott
Dacey, our guest this afternoon. Scott, congratulations. Best of luck to you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Viewpoints on the talk station, FM 107, AM 1240.